a Cleveland Jewish News production.
We start with an arrest in one of Cleveland's more high-profile unsolved murders.
A break in the case. After a 12-year investigation, finally, some encouraging news for the family of Aliza Sherman.
Investigators now believe they've solved the mystery behind the suspect in the big disguise. 2013, Aliza Sherman went downtown to meet her divorce lawyer. She ended up stabbed to death.
The news broke late Friday afternoon. The news that Aliza Sherman's family had been so desperate to hear. That after waiting 12 years, 1 month, and 8 days, and after shedding countless tears in their beloved mother and sister's memory, there could finally be justice for Aliza.
Extraordinary, shocking, unbelievable. So many words could describe hearing this news. There were even those who said, "I knew it," when learning that Aliza's former attorney, Gregory Moore, someone who was supposed to have advocated for her through a bitter divorce, had been charged with stabbing her to death. May 2nd, 2025 was a watershed moment. The magnitude of this major, long-awaited break and the mystery surrounding Aliza's murder can't be overstated, which is why we're back behind our microphones. I'm Mike Butts.
And I'm Sarah Schuckman. You're listening to a special edition of Aliza, Her Story at 10 Years, the Cleveland Jewish News podcast about Aliza Sherman's life, loss, and legacy. We started this project in early 2023, 10 years after Aliza died. Welcome now to episode 6, the next chapter. As it's ongoing, we're going to rename this podcast, Aliza, Her Story. Mike and I are both journalists who for years have reported on Aliza's story. We work together on the podcast to bring you a deeper, better understanding of who Aliza was, to understand how Aliza lived, not just how she died. We spoke to her brothers, her children, and many longtime friends to shed light on the lasting legacy of the Beechwood nurse and mother of 4 and the change she's inspired.
We also dug deep into the ongoing investigation into her murder. We interviewed police and attorneys to gain greater insight, and we visited the Ohio Bureau of Criminal Investigation, or BCI, to learn what the agency was doing to solve this cold case. If you're new to this podcast, Sarah and I strongly encourage you to start from the beginning and listen to those earlier episodes. They paint a complete picture and give you the context you can't find anywhere else, to try, best we can, to make sense of what's happening today. For now, let's catch up on the latest.
From the outside, everything changed in the Aliza Sherman murder investigation around 3:30 in the afternoon, Friday, May 2nd, in a Texas suburb. A team of U.S. Marshals arrived in the Bushy Creek area of Round Rock, about 20 miles north of Austin, with a murder warrant for the arrest of Gregory Moore. Ohio Attorney General Dave Yost told us Moore was in town to visit his father, who's in hospice. Moore was taken into custody on 10 criminal charges. Cuyahoga County Prosecutor Michael O'Malley's office announced the news within the hour that a grand jury had indicted the 51-year-old Sagamore Hills man with 1 count of aggravated murder, 1 count of conspiracy, 6 counts of murder, and 2 counts of kidnapping, all felonies stemming from the events of March 24th, 2013. Investigators allege Moore conspired to deceive Aliza, to kidnap her, and cause her serious physical harm, all to delay her divorce trial. The trial, for which he was hired to represent her, was scheduled to begin just 2 days later. Investigators allege he was unprepared for that trial, and his motive was to make sure Aliza was unavailable to attend the proceedings. The indictment leaves open the idea that Moore may have worked with at least one other unnamed individual.
Moore is scheduled for an extradition hearing May 14th in Texas. That's mostly considered a formality. Barring any major change, he will be extradited to Ohio and is scheduled to be arraigned May 16th at the Cuyahoga County Justice Center. If you've been on this journey with us, you likely remember Gregory Moore. He was first identified as a person of interest in the case April 24th, 2014. That day, FBI agents raided the Stafford Law Company offices where Moore worked, seeking evidence. The indictment alleges that on March 24th, 2013, Moore arranged for Aliza to meet him at 55 Erie View Plaza, outside the law offices, at 4:30 p.m. The indictment says he then delayed the meeting, sending a series of text messages to bring Aliza downtown from her Beechwood home and keep her waiting outside the door to the office building. That's exactly what Aliza did, believing Moore was inside waiting to meet with her.
In the indictment, prosecutors allege that Moore used his electronic access to open the building's front door at about 3:51 p.m., but he either never entered or left before 4:07 p.m., and he was not inside the building again until 7:30 p.m. that night. Authorities say Moore used a Stafford Law Company issued mobile hotspot to text Aliza while his phone was off the Verizon cellular network. The indictment accuses Moore of continuing to text and call Aliza at least 9 times after she was attacked at about 5:22 p.m. to create, quote, false evidence that Moore was unaware of Sherman's assault. The indictment alleges it was either Moore or an unknown co-conspirator who approached Aliza, chased her down Erie View Plaza, and stabbed her, leaving the scene on foot. Prosecutors believe Gregory Moore could very well be the shadowy, unidentified person seen fleeing the scene in that haunting surveillance camera footage that investigators released a month after Aliza's murder.
Moore's new indictment was the first major development in Aliza's case since, well, the last time Moore was indicted on charges related to her murder. That was back in January 2016, when he was accused of tampering with evidence, telecommunications fraud, possessing criminal tools, 2 counts of forgery, falsification, and obstructing official business. He was also charged in relation to 3 separate bomb threats he made to Cuyahoga and Lake County courthouses in 2012. In May 2017, Moore agreed to a deal, changing his plea to guilty on 3 charges, 2 related to the bomb threats and 1 related to Aliza's case, in exchange for the remaining 13 charges being dropped. He pleaded guilty to a misdemeanor charge of falsification related to his whereabouts on March 24, 2013, the day Aliza died. I was in Judge John Sutula's courtroom the day Moore was sentenced. He faced a maximum of 3 years behind bars, including prison, but was sentenced to only 6 months in jail, 3 years probation, and 350 hours community service. Aliza's daughter, Jennifer Sherman, and longtime friends Jan Lash and Mary Foyer were shocked and deeply disappointed by the leniency Moore received.
Moore was a focus of episode 3. Back then, Aliza's friends told us she felt stuck with Moore after sinking tens of thousands of dollars into Stafford Law Company representing her case. In 2023, Jen sat here in our studio with us for an interview and reflected on Moore. We haven't shared this clip before.
I tried to reach him that night when I was looking for my mom, and he didn't answer. And then when I spoke to him the next day, very briefly, he said he was waiting for her. The only thing I do remember being in court was, I was standing there on behalf of my mom, but speaking to him, and he didn't even have the decency to look me in the eyes. To me, I don't even know that I need an apology from him. I'd rather he just share the information that Correct. He has. Yes. I'm not sitting here waiting on ceremony for an apology from anyone, because no apology in the world is going to bring my mom back or make up for the torture she went through or the hell that it has been since she died, or the, gaping hole that was left into the lives of her kids or anyone else who loved her.
So, what's next? Well, the attorney, who law enforcement says was unprepared to go to trial in Aliza's divorce case, must now stand trial in connection to her murder. Beyond that, questions remain. How will Gregory Moore's trial play out? Does the prosecutor's office have a strong enough case to bring a conviction? And why did it take so long? Who was Moore's alleged co-conspirator? Most importantly, will there finally be closure? The justice for Aliza, her friends and family have long sought and fought hard to get. Ohio AG Yost certainly thinks so.
We're going to demonstrate a pattern and some abnormalities that are driven from electronic messages, as well as different digital footprints that are left by different kinds of devices. it will all prove up beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant did commit this murder.
While the wait has been agonizing for those close to Aliza, in this case, time has been a tool. A.G. Yost told us it was technology that finally cracked it open, which we'll dive into in our next episode. One thing is certain amid all of these questions. We will be here, just as we have been over the last 12 years, to bring you Aliza's story in the pursuit of justice.
Aliza, Her Story is produced by the Cleveland Jewish News. Executive producers are Kevin S. Adelstein and Jennifer Sherman. Today's episode was produced by Mike Butts, Courtney Burns, Stephanie Holmes, Bob Jacob, and me, Sarah Schuckman. It was edited by Stephanie Holmes and written by Mike Butts and me. Cover art design by Bella Bendo and Jessica Simon. Our theme music is Particles by Nobu. Additional music included in this episode is by Lance Conrad. News audio courtesy of WKYC 3 News, WEWS News 5 Cleveland, and WJW Fox 8. To learn more or to support the Aliza Sherman Fund, visit give.ccf.org/Aliza Sherman Fund. To read more about Aliza's story and listen to other episodes in this series, visit cjn.org/podcast. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Thanks for listening.